How's it going, guys? My name is Zach with the Movie Castle, and today we're going to be taking a look at Freddy's Nightmares. This is Season 1, Episode 6, and this one's entitled Saturday Night Special. It originally aired November 13th, 1988, was directed by Lisa Gottlie, and stars Shari Shattuck, Scott Burkholder, Paul Lieber, Joyce Hyset, and of course, Robert Englund as Freddy Krueger, our host. And overall, I want to say, this episode's fun enough. Both stories are about dating and beauty, and of course the very tropey lesson of be happy with who you are and don't try to change yourself. You get a guy who lies about who he is on a dating service in order to get a girl who's too far out of his league, but of course, supernatural comeuppance are incoming. And then in the second story, you get a woman who changes her physical appearance at a beauty clinic, thinking that will make her happy, but of course, Anthology horror twists are incoming. And overall, the stories do work. They kept me entertained well enough, the plots moved along at a good enough pace, they did enough new and interesting, even though again, they are pretty tropey stories. And yeah, tropey enough to not really surprise me in any big way. And while the basic plot structure does work well enough, there are a few moments in here that don't 100% add up. But overall, I thought it was fun enough, a totally effective little episode. But in order to analyze it further, I do want to talk about each piece individually. I'll be avoiding the end bits, so I'll try not to do any major spoilers. But from here on out, let's dive in a little bit deeper. We open up with the first story, and we get to see two guys at a company retreat to an ice skating rink. And they're there watching people skate around and commenting on a few women from the office. You see the main guy's friend likes all the girls and wants to date all of them. Meanwhile, the main guy is hyper-focused on one woman who's already rejected him. So yeah, both kind of have their problems, and both are a bit on opposite ends of the scale. But you see, the girl from the office that rejected our main character, it turns out she told him, "It's not you, I just don't want to date anyone from work." However, now she is dating someone from work, someone very high up on the ladder, so that leads him to believe that it's not him, it was his position. Driving home that night, he sees a dating service in this kind of sketchy building and decides to go in and have a look. I will say the bumper with Freddy Krueger for this literally features him eating the building for some reason. These bumpers are kind of random, but talk about Freddy literally chewing the scenery here. But anyway though, inside of the building, he meets the guy that's running this dating service, and he says, "Let's get you set up, let's shoot a video." However, when they start to shoot the video, the guy comes off as really boring, and the guy who runs the service suggests that he start lying, and we get him just making a bunch of stuff up. "Oh, I was a professional hockey player, and now I'm a big-time finance guy," and they even give him this super hilarious line of, "I realized that no matter how rich I got, I could only drive one Porsche at a time." Okay, that was pretty funny. Although I will say, I get that we have to have the mystical dating service to set him up with the mystical pretty woman, but that being said, the idea that he had to go somewhere professionally to tell him simply to lie about himself is a bit of a weird move, but whatever. He has this dream of being with a woman, and then literally wakes up the next day getting a phone call from a beautiful woman, and she's literally using lines from his dream. A bit of a red flag there, but whatever. He goes on a date with her, and of course all those lies he told earlier are going to get shaken a little bit, and he has to kind of worry about hiding who he actually is. But then we get the supernatural element in here. He's going on his date, and he'll start looking at other women, but So whenever he does look at other women, he gets a horrifying vision of them being killed. And that is an interesting idea, and I do like how earlier on in Freddy's Nightmares we were getting just random scary visions and then cutting away. Those were unfocused, but here they're tied to a specific theme, and it appears to be whatever this girl's supernatural ability is. So again, they don't feel as random and they're more tied to the story. But when we talk about parts that don't work, isn't this more what his friend was going after? Like, he wanted the perfect woman and he's with her right now. His friend was the one that wanted all the woman, so I don't know why we're suddenly changing to something that doesn't seem to be what his character was set up for. The only idea that I can come up with in my head is that maybe subconsciously he was using the excuse of looking for the perfect woman because he wasn't really ready for a relationship at all, and going after someone he knew would reject him would be a passable excuse in his own psyche. So now that he has her, maybe now he's starting to try to wreck things? I don't know. It's just weird that he was going after his friend for saying, oh, you want all the girls, and then when he's on his date, that's immediately what he does. I don't know. There is a fun sequence towards the end of this, but again, overall, a pretty standard anthology horror story. A fun villain, though. The second story, we do have a few more problems with. We get this woman, and she's actually the roommate of the beautiful woman from the first story. And we did get to see her for a second in the first story, when she goes, oh, you're looking for my roommate. I bet you're glad that the dating service didn't secretly set you up with me. She's on screen a little bit too long in the first story, where you can basically tell, oh, this is setting up for the second. But I will also say, they set up in the first one like this beautiful woman character was a supernatural being of some sort, yet she apparently has a job and a roommate, and everyone else sees her as a normal person, so not 100% sure who she is, if she's really a regular person or not, but again, whatever. The main character of the second half of this episode is jealous of her roommate's beauty, and at work, her lack of beauty is blatantly holding her back. She works at a realtor office and she's stuck in a back of house position because they want all the beautiful girls to be interacting with the clients. The roommate says, hey, you don't have to live like this forever. Let me take you down to a beauty clinic and we can change your appearance. And I will say the doctor in this episode is probably the highlight of the second half. He goes in and says, I do see that you're beautiful just the way you are, but if you want me to change you, I will. And as he's doing his routines, he starts saying all this stuff about woman, and it's this weird mix where like half of it seems feminist and half of it seems sexist, and you're not 100% sure what this guy's on about, but he's saying it very passionately, very over the top, and the procedures he's doing go from relatively normal to bigger and more intense, to the point where at the end of this scene, they're downright comical. So yeah, a very intense sequence that definitely makes this half of the episode a whole lot more worth it. Well, she gets the cosmetic job done good enough that she turns into a different actress, and her roommate says, okay, now you're ready to go out there and play the game. And that's where I get into some of the bigger problems with this episode. She had been held back in work because of beauty standards. It's actually more her bosses and the people higher up that I want to see get the anthology horror comeuppance, and not really her. And also the fact that once she is beautiful, she's more than happy to go out there and play the game that was openly a bad thing, and she noticed it beforehand, but now she's just putting that all away. And also, again, as I said at the top, these Freddy's Nightmares sections do tend to have random and out of nowhere endings. The first half definitely had an ending like that. This second half it does get a little random, including one of the episode's highlight effects is a little bit odd, and the way an actor reacts to it, you can tell he probably didn't know what exactly he was supposed to be looking at, but whatever, it does swing relatively big. So overall, this episode does have its moments. The finale in the first half, where we really get to see this beautiful woman character really shine and do some crazy bits. The doctor sequence in the second half, it did have its moments. Again though, outside of that, there were a few little plot and ethics stuff that I don't think 100% added up. And again, it was a very tropey story, but overall though, fun enough, not the worst episode I've seen. And I do like that it is focused on a theme and we're not just throwing out random jump scares for no reason. I think in general the show is getting a little better, and I do want to see it stay on this track. Anyway though, to everyone who's watched so far, thank you for watching. To everyone who's liked and subscribed, thank you, you really are helping the channel out. I'll leave a relevant playlist on the bottom. This should be my Freddy's Nightmares playlist. If you guys want to see me talk about the past episodes of the show, you should be able to find them there. Anyway, have a good day. I'll see you guys again very, very soon. Playlist here. Have a good day now.